So in today's video, I'm going to be backtesting Eurusd, which is a pair that I've never backtested or traded before. I'm going to be showing you guys the exact trading strategy and plan which I currently use on GBPUSD and gold and have found to be profitable over 2 years worth of trading the system now in the live market and backtesting as well. So if any of that sounds interesting to you guys, make sure to stick around until the end of this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and let's get straight into the video. Alright guys, so as mentioned, before we get into the backtesting itself, we're going to go through the trading plan which I currently use and the strategy which I'm going to be backtesting today. If you guys have seen any of my previous backtesting videos, you can go ahead and skip this part and go straight to the backtesting itself. But for anybody new here, just to give you a brief overview of how I trade and the strategy that we're going to be testing. As I mentioned, I already used this strategy on GBPUSD and gold, but I'm going to be back testing it today on EURUSD to see if the same strategy and system works on EURUSD. So yeah, let's get into the trading plan. The first section, you could say, of the trading plan is obviously the strategy itself, and then we'll do a touch on risk management and all the other components as well. So as for the strategy itself, it's a very simple strategy. What we're going to be doing is on the 4 hour and the daily, we identify market structure and direction, breaking it down to the lower time frames as well to basically mark on the internal trends and any of the substructure. So basically just identifying where the main structure points are, where the liquidity is, where the key areas of supply and demand are, which will become a little bit more clear as we get into the charts. Step 2 is to identify an area, a point of interest where we want to either buy or sell from. And for this, I have 2 areas which are considered valid for myself. The first one is an imbalanced level of supply or demand with some liquidity resting above or below and following the order flow, which basically means that if price is bullish, we're only looking within the current bullish leg of the trend for an area of demand to buy from, and vice versa for the sells. So basically we're not looking all the way back years to the left and then looking for a random area of demand to go off. We're looking for the most recent price action and following the current trend. Type 2 is simply an area of higher time frame liquidity. Once that's swept, we then look for a confirmation. We also look for a confirmation when price comes into the type 1 point of interest, and the confirmation for myself is simply a break of structure on the 15-minute or the 5, depending on what time frame the point of interest was based on. And this needs to be imbalanced, and we need to see a clear area of supply or demand formed on which we can enter. And we higher probability setups also have some liquidity taken out in the process as well. I've given a very clear example here. So price was bullish, it came down, swept some liquidity. We then had a break of structure, price pulls back into the imbalanced demand that it created, and then we buy up targeting previous liquidity. That brings us down here to the targets. For this and for this backtesting session, I'm going to be backtesting using a target of the next low or high on the lower time frame, that is. So if, say, price pulls back into an area of demand, I'm looking to target that high that the lower time frame created and not the 4 hour high, which would be, a risk to reward of an unrealistic amount, such as a 1 to 10 or more. 1 to 3 has to be the minimum risk to reward for this strategy. If I can't get a 1 to 3, then I won't take the trade. Risk management, 1% per trade always, one loss maximum per day, so we're not looking to re-enter if we get stopped out. And we're only going to be making break even if there's high impact news. Obviously, during backtesting, we can't tell if there's high impact news or not, so we'll leave this out for the backtesting. And down here, I've also added some nuanced details for you guys about how I conduct performance reviews, such as the weekly review, monthly review, and also the optimal routine in order to make your trading performance as optimal as possible. So I'll drop this trading plan in the description for you guys below to check out if you would like. And for now, let's get into the backtesting session itself. So we'll start a new session on EU. And for this, I'm just going to start at the beginning of 2024, and we're going to do it up to the present date. Obviously, if I was actually backtesting this for real and I wanted to collect data on it, I would go back several years and collect all of that data. However, for the purpose of this video, we'll just do 2024, as otherwise it would be hours and hours long. So all of this doesn't matter. You can fill it in how you like. And yeah, let's start the backtesting. Get rid of that. Okay, so we'll start the analysis on the weekly actually. So in this case, what we can see on the weekly is that price was in this weekly uptrend, just focusing on this price action here. We then had this leg of the trend, which took out these two lows to the left. So you could consider this as a change of character, and this is just a pullback into a premium level to then continue selling. And price has actually just interestingly came into weekly supply. So this whole area was weekly supply. You could say on the weekly time frame that this was a change of character as well. So going based off this analysis and drop into the daily. So daily time frame is currently bullish still. So we've had a break of this high just here. So that was the most recent daily break of structure. So in order for the daily to flip bearish, it would need to take out this current low. However, since price has reacted from that weekly area of supply, we can potentially look to capitalize on a lower time frame move back down. Being mindful of some of these areas of supply which price may well react from. Okay, so price came into weekly supply. Let's have a look at what the hourly is doing. So currently the hourly has actually flipped bearish. So we had this uptrend, price broke the high, then melted and took out this low. So that was an hourly change of character. Price has started to consolidate just here and has formed an area of liquidity below this area of supply. So since price came into that weekly area of supply, we had a break of structure. We've had this liquidity build up below an imbalanced area of supply. This is a valid setup to take. So I would just set a limit here, have a stop loss a little bit above this area, 20 pips. And the target is going to depend on when price starts to pull back. So we'll set the limit for now and see if price can pull back. All right, so it may not want to pull back at all, which is completely fine. So we'll delete this limit for now, since price doesn't look like it's pulling back. Notice as well, at the moment, even though price is bullish on the daily time frame, sellers are clearly in control because all of the areas of demand are failing. Probably the one area that I would be mindful of would be this supply down here, and also perhaps once this is swept, because that's the last bit of liquidity leading into this big imbalance below. So I would also be mindful of this zone, and if it is swept, we could potentially see some buys, which again, the buys are also valid at the moment since price is bullish on the daily and it would have come into a discounted level if this line is swept. Looking back on the hourly though, we can mark on the current hourly structure. We've had a break just here. So let's just see what price wants to do now. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Okay, so let's see. So price has just swept this zone. So at the moment, I'm liking this for some sells. The reason being, we formed these sort of equal lows just here. Price is still looking quite weak, like it's probably going to gravitate towards this liquidity. We took 4-hour liquidity into the area of imbalance above. So if we can get a valid confirmation, I'd be happy to sell from this area. So let's have a look. We missed that actually. Ideally, this would have been the entry after price broke that low. So let's just see what price does now. Not currently seeing anything valid. Yeah, so there you go. Sales were perfect. Sweep of this area. That was my fault. I fast forwarded price too quickly and we missed the original entry, and then there wasn't really a valid entry after that. Also, look where price has just swept the line that I said. We've had a sweep. Price has now moved very impulsively to the upside. So now what I'm seeing is one of two things. We could either target, price is probably going to target this high, but what we could see is either price sweep this high for more sells back to fill this wick, or a closure above this structure for a pullback for more buys. So I'll mark this on just here as an area of liquidity we want to see swept. And there you go. So that area was swept. I'm liking this more for the buys now though. So we have this area of demand. I'm now viewing this as a change of character instead. Since we swept that main 4-hour liquidity just there. So we swept the 4-hour liquidity. Price was overall bullish on daily time frame. Sweep of this low, break of structure. So yeah, I'm gonna look and see how price reacts within this demand for some potential buys. So let's see, this would be a 5-minute confirmation entry. I'll change the color of this to make it more clear. Okay, so I'm gonna place a buy just here. Stops below this low, and we're gonna target this current high just here. Okay, so loss on that one. The full process behind this was that price swept the demand. It then broke this structure. So I was looking for a retest to go long. So yeah, let's just see what price does now. At the moment, I would still say buys are valid. We have come into this area. This was the whole demand, which swept the low to the left and broke the structure. Price did now as well give a 15-minute change of character just here. Okay, so if price can pull back into this zone, I'll look to give the buys another try. More conservative stop loss just there. And that's a nice 1 to 3. Let's see what price wants to do. Okay, so price didn't want to give a reaction there. I'm just leaving this at the moment because it's quite a mess. Okay, so it looks like price wants to continue down anyway. Okay, so what can we see now? Well, now we've had another break of structure. So this was sort of the pullback which put in the new low. Just here. Okay, so price reacted from this zone. We then have price breaking structure again. And what I'm looking for price to do now is just target this low. We have demand resting below just here. So I would look for price to come into this zone and potentially continue bullish, or also potentially just continue straight down. So if we just get rid of this. So the reason as well that I would see price targeting this low is there's not really anything for it to react from between where it is now and this low. So yeah, well, I'll just continue to look for some shorts down to that level at the moment. Okay, so price has reacted from this supply. What I would like to see it do is potentially sweep this high and come back into this supply. So if we mark this on, okay, there we go. If we get a break of structure, this would be a valid sell. So there's the break of structure, and I would probably look to sell from this zone. I like this area of supply as well because it did sweep previous liquidity and it broke structure. So if price can pull back into this zone, I'd be happy to sell down to this current low. Okay, doesn't look like it wants to pull back. I'm going to keep the limit for now. All right, so now it's invalid since price broke the low. Good analysis on that one, just no valid entry. So what I missed here, actually, looking on the 1 hour, is that all of this was efficient, so we should have been entering on this supply instead. But yeah, oh well, little mistrade. So price is broken structure once again. Okay, what I'm looking for price to do now is potentially sweep this liquidity just here. Let's have a look what happens once price does that. There you go. Came into this area of supply above as well. Okay, it looks like price just wants to continue up then. Okay, so price at this point, there wasn't really a valid point of interest to the left, so happy to have left that. Again, marking out the breaks of structure, we've had another break, so just looking to follow the current trend. So right now what I would look to do Okay, so price has pulled back into a premium and came into this supply as well. It swept all of this liquidity. That would have been a nice entry from this supply, but price never closed below the structure, so it wasn't valid for myself at least. There we go, it would have been a bad trade anyway. All right, so I'm liking some sells from this point actually. So marking on this again as a break of structure. Price came up, swept this high. I'm liking how we're building all of this liquidity as well. Just here, which was the Asian range. This is London session. Let's see if, oh, there we go. So I think this was a news event, which I was going to look for sells after a break of this low, but I think price has left us behind there. Yeah, there we go. So price left us behind. We had just another break of structure just there. Let's see if we have another entry possibility here. Okay, so not really. Price is approaching that daily area of demand as well. So we've got daily liquidity here. I'm just going to mark that on with a line. Once this is taken, I'm expecting a reaction, and we're going to look to capitalize on some buy positions as well. I'm just going to clear this up as well. This is getting a bit messy. What I will do though is I'll keep on the most recent 4-hour break of structure, which was just here. Okay, so price didn't quite sweep that line, so we formed some equal lows there. The next area I would look for price to sweep would be this zone. Or I can come up into this area of supply up here. So yeah, if price sweeps this level, I'd consider some sells if we get a nice reaction. So let's see what price does once it sweeps this zone. I wouldn't consider buys there, but could probably have bought up to this level. There we go. The level is swept. See if we get a break on the lower time frames. Boom, there we go. That's what we want to see. So push up, breaking structure to the left. Immediately price melts and it has created sort of this area of supply after taking out that previous low. And I'll just go with this whole area so we don't over refine it. So since this area took out liquidity to the left, it broke structure with imbalance. I would consider sells from this zone, and we can target that area of daily demand just below. Place this trade just there and see if it pulls back. Liquidity resting below now as well, which I like. Oh, there we go. So 4.5% in 1 hour candle. That was probably some news. Probably CPI because it was on Tuesday. But there you go. First win after 2 losses. So we are now 2.5% up in 2 months. Sorry, in 1 month and a little bit. Okay, so marking on once again the 4-hour breaks of structure. This was the 4-hour break just here after price swept this level. Keeping in mind now that price has come into our 4-hour area of demand. Also, it has swept the daily low. So I'm definitely looking to see if we can capitalize on some buys from this zone. I also like the fact now as well that we have this big news candle, which price very often fills after we get a big news event like this. So let's have a look how price reacts just here. Okay, so it took out this low. If we play this on the 15 actually. So if it can break this structure, I'd consider the buys. Okay, so now if it breaks this structure, we can look at buys. Okay, there we go. Clear break of this structure. Not currently see any valid areas to enter on. As you guys can see, all of this is just efficient price action. We do actually have this zone which is a valid zone. So I'm going to enter on here actually. And I'll have stops just below this demand. We'll see how price goes, but I think we can probably target the top of this news candle. Okay, it's probably not coming back now anyway. Okay, so I'm going to delete this original limit since price reacted from this zone. So what I'd look to do now is simply follow this lower time frame structure. So we've had another break of structure just here. And what I would like to see is potentially for price to sweep this low. Or maybe not, can just continue up. See if we can get an entry. Okay, so I wouldn't see this as a reversal. I'd want to see price at least come up and sweep this high before we see some sells. But let's just see how price reacts for now. Okay, so it did come into that zone. There you go, another break. There wasn't a valid entry there though. Okay, so we have a nice point of interest now actually. So we have either this zone or we also have this lower one down here. And I'll mark on this as a mitigation as well. Price swept the demand and then broke to the upside. So I'll put these in blue actually to mark them as POIs. And the high that we're looking to target is this one to the left before we see the sells. So let's see how price reacts within this first zone. If it gets there. Okay, so there you go. Price came into the zone. Still expecting price to target this liquidity to the left. So let's see what price does within this zone. Okay, so I'm going to buy from here and we'll target probably the liquidity just up here. So what we can see here is that price broke 5-minute structure after sweep and demand, and yeah, I'm quite happy to buy here. I'm not really interested in waiting for a pullback as this is already a valid entry for myself. So we just place this as a market execution. And let's see how it goes. Oh, there we go. Price came like 0.1 pips away from the stop loss, but the trade played out very nicely. which is another 3.8%. We're now 6.3% up. But what we can do here is analyze why our entry was not the best. So you can see that price came into this demand. We swept the low, but then price wanted to sweep this low again. And if we would have waited, there was a valid entry from this level, actually. So that would have been a much better entry, but I'm quite happy with the 4% that we secured on that trade. Liquidity level was hit as well. But looks like price wants to continue higher anyway. So I'm going to get rid of all of this now. And I'm going to mark on. So this was the 4-hour break of structure. So the 4-hour is now switched bullish because we had lower high, lower low breaking the structure. Price now formed a higher high. So I would look for it to target this sort of area of supply, at least before selling off. All of this is just sort of an empty imbalance where you wouldn't expect price to reverse from. So yeah, let's have a look. What other levels are there that we have to watch out for? So we also have this area up here, which is daily supply. The way I'm reading this currently is that we could either, so if we get rid of this demand, we could view this as, remember this was the weekly supply, which broke the weekly low. Price then pulled back, and now we've also had a daily change of character, so you could view it like this. Or alternatively, you could view this as a sweep for buys. So I'm going to be looking to capitalize on both sides of this. So we can capitalize on the buys by viewing this as a sweep for buys up to at least one of these two levels. But we can also basically react to these levels if they present some sells. That would also be valid. So yeah, let's have a look if we can get some buys up to one of those levels. Okay, so currently we have this zone, which I would consider buying from. Price has just pulled back into. So let's see how price reacts within this area. Cool. So the area was swept. This would have been valid for buys if price had closed above this structure, but we only got a wick above it for a pullback into demand. But the analysis was good. We just had a sweep of the area instead. So I'm going to mark this on as another break of structure. Price has now come into our area of supply, so we can see how it reacts within this zone. Also came to this refined area as well. So let's see how price reacts from this zone. There we go. Price melted from that area. Okay, nice. So what I would like to see would be for price to potentially retest into here before heading lower. So let's see how price reacts from there. didn't quite touch it. So play this on the 1 hour so it's a bit quicker. So that was annoying. Price narrowly missed that area and then has just broken down as well. Currently the hourly is still bullish because we've had this being the current move of the uptrend, where we've had pullback, push up, break structure to the left. And it has also sort of come back into this area of demand. So buys from this area would be valid if we see an entry. So let's have a look. Yeah, so buys were accurate, but it wasn't really an entry. I might just wait for the sell zone above, unless we see something like that. So I'm liking this. We've had reaction from demand. The first reaction was swept just here. Right. So if we see some breaks of structure, I would consider buys right now. Right. I wasn't really seeing a valid entry there. We didn't get a break of structure. Okay, so I would still consider this area for a counter trend sell. Back down to this area. So if we're viewing this from a bullish perspective, we've had break of structure, come back into demand, sweep of the low, break of this internal structure just here. So if price can come back into this demand, that would be the area I would look to buy from. For now, since price has taken this liquidity into the supply, I'm going to consider some sells as well. From this area of supply, back down to these lows just here. As you can see, we've had a break of the low, inducement above. So this is a valid zone to enter from. Oops. Didn't mean to do market execution. We'll just exit that straight at break even. And we'll do a sell limit instead. Let's have a look if this wants to pull back or not. Okay, so loss on that one. Now it looks like it's going. Or not, there we go. That was a pretty stupid trade actually anyway, because price was bullish. Okay, so now price is also coming in to the next level, which was daily supply, which we originally wanted to sell from. Okay, so there we go. Daily liquidity taken into the supply. This would be my main area that I'd look for some sales from. Also considering this as an area of demand. Going to get rid of all of this now as well. So I would consider this as the most recent break. Price is in this supply, so I'm also going to be looking out for some sells. If we get a 15-minute breaker structure. So this is still valid at the moment because price has just swept the supply. And there is the hourly break. Is there a valid POI? And this would be the supply that we enter on. If we get a sweep of this height into the supply, stops probably 15 pips, targeting down here. Don't know why it's doing this. There we go. Let's have a look if it pulls back. Gonna play this on the 1 hour as well, so it's quicker. Oh, there we go. Almost hit the stop loss. And I'm gonna keep the target where it is at this current low. I still like this because we did have hourly breaker structure. This looks like an inducement high. So let's see if price can start breaking some structure just here. There we go. And take profit hit. Again, very, very close. What I've been noticing over this session is that as opposed to GBPUSD, EURUSD likes to sweep the areas a lot more, whereas GU tends to respect them. So for example, here you had a sweep of the supply instead of it respecting it. But following on with this trend, we've now had, get rid of this, another breaker structure to the downside. And as for the daily perspective that I have now, I think that the sells are much more likely. We've had, as I said, daily break just here, pull back into a premium level of supply, sweep in previous liquidity. So I'm just looking for this to continue down now. So let's see. So current point of interest would be this liquidity. If price can sweep that area to target these lows down here. Okay, let's see. Also considering we had price react from this demand. I still prefer the sells at the moment though, just because if we look on the 3 hour, you can see we just had this long wick and the price has formed these sort of two equal lows. So I'm going to keep my eyes out for the sells now that we've swept that liquidity. Let's see. So I'm quite liking this zone. Set a limit here. I'm going to have a bit of a conservative stop, a bit above, and target the lows. Reason because this area here caused this demand to fail. We have all of this liquidity resting below it as well. So if we set a limit just there, and let's see if it tags in. There we go. See what the 5 minute does within this zone as well. Okay, so stop loss on that one, that's fine. So price has now also swept this high. Let's have a look what it does here. If it just continues up, then I'd consider the buys, but if it ends up breaking structure here, I would consider some sells as well. Just like that. And I would look to enter on this zone just here. Once again, targeting these lows. Okay, no pullback anyway. The analysis was correct though, so we had a sweep of both of those levels, followed by the sells continuing. Okay, so what I would look for now would be, so we've had a sweep of this high. And I would still prefer some sells since price hasn't come into a sort of significant area. It's still within this daily supply as well, just here. So this whole zone, if price can give a nice reaction, I would sell from this zone. Let's have a look at the 15. There we go. So 15 broke structure, created this area of supply. We can enter on here. And for this, since we have all of this in balance, I'm going to target these lows. And I'm also just going to wait and have a look how price reacts to specific areas. May not hold it all of this way. Why is it doing this? There we go. Okay, so price missed our limit. So we'll delete that now. Okay, analysis was good though. And once again, we have another break. Let's have a look higher time frame. I'm just going to refresh the page 1 sec because the 4 hours not working. So I'll just quickly add on the markings we had. So we had daily change of character, price then pulled back into this zone. And the most recent main breaker structure was this one just here. Okay, so on the 1 hour as well, what we've had, price broke this structure here. I would like this area swept before we see sells. And it also came into this zone as well, which was, as you guys can see, this sort of 4 hour demand just in here, which was left imbalanced. It broke structure to the upside. I missed that entry though. Okay. So price came into that zone. We then had another break to the downside. Okay, price took out all of these lows. So we could see some buys here. Let's have a look, nothing at the moment. Okay, so I would potentially look at buying from here. The reason being, this was the demand which caused this break of structure. So you could view this as a change of character. And then this whole move was just a move down to retest this. So since it hasn't reached that area yet, I'm still interested in some sells for the time being. So if we just mark this on, this was the main breaker structure. The area of supply I would look to get in on would be this one. Okay, so that level was clearly invalidated. We also have this area in here. Or what also would be valid would be a sweep of this. For some sells from this zone. 10 pips stop loss on that. And I'm going to be targeting this area of demand down here. There we go. This, by the way, was because we had a break of this 15-minute structure. Okay, there we go. Tagged in. Boom, there we go. This was nice actually, since we had a sweep of this liquidity too. So that puts us at 13% now. And I'm going to see how price reacts within this demand as well. Okay, or it could just completely miss it. Okay, so as I said, I think price is still bearish. Looking on the daily, is a bit of a mess, but overall this is bearish price action. We had a break of daily lows, pull back into supply, sweep of supply, move down, and price broke multiple daily lows. We had a sweep of this. Price has now also swept this. And broke this low. All right, so there was no valid entry there, but I was looking for the sells. Okay, nice. So price has come into our area. Let's see how it reacts here. We could see some buys here. We have just taken out this low. I would more so consider that a break of structure. Okay, let's see what happens. We do still have this 15-minute extreme as well. So the main idea would be to sell from that supply at the moment rather than the buys. Yeah, there we go. Demand failed. Get rid of that. Okay, so let's see here. So what I would like to see would be price to come into this supply. I'm seeing this lower high just here as a sort of inducement. So yeah, if price can come and sweep that, that would be ideal. There we go. Price came into supply. We have just swept this high as well. So let's see what price does within this zone. I'm gonna change the color. This isn't valid because we came into demand below. So I'll play this a bit faster. right, so the top of the supply was swept. This is where we want to be looking for the best entry. That's not really something I would look to take. Maybe if we see a pullback to here, target these lows. Don't know why it keeps doing this, but there we go. Alright, so no pullback. Analysis was good though. Let's see what it does from here. Okay, so actually what I like here is we've had sweepers supply. Price clearly broke this low. And we also have this area of supply just here, which price has just induced. So I'm going to just set a limit on this zone. Stops 12 pips just above. And let's see where price is at the time when it starts to pull back. Okay, so I want to target just a 1 to 3, which is my minimum risk to reward, just down here. Cool, there we go. There was a confirmation entry there as well. So we had sweep, break, retest into this sort of area. This is quite messy at the moment though. Okay, so that concludes the session. As you guys can see, we finished with a 50% win rate, but the average risk to reward was a 1 to 4, so that makes up for it. Anyhow, 50% win rate is very good going, despite, even if you didn't have this risk to reward. And overall, we made 16%, which was over the course of around 3 months, I believe. Yeah, three, 4 months, and then one sort of half month. So to call it 3.5 months, we made 16%, which is very good going. And you can do some more detailed analysis down here as well. You can do a simulation, for example. But anyway, that concludes this video. If you guys did find this useful, make sure to leave a like below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.